Welcome to the Agent Bridge podcast. We're your hosts, Brandon Baca.
And I'm Marl Hessen.
The Agent Bridge is the proven path to real estate success without the burnout. All right. Well, here we go. Episode number 11. We welcome our friend, Kyle Draper. Kyle, great to have you here today.
Gentlemen.
Kyle, we go back quite a ways.
We do.
Let's see, when I first met you, you were, I think, maybe a pastor at the time or transitioning, and you were selling roofs.
Yep.
And
I
so
was,
you
I was
came-
coming out of church ministry, and we just started a roofing company.
Yeah,
Probably
and,
the most awkward transition.
and so you came. So I was in real estate in Oklahoma City. So you came there, and then you slowly made your transition into being a social media coach. Can you guys give us a background on what got you into that? And
Yeah.
I would love it.
Man, so not on purpose, right? So like you said, I was a pastor in Dallas-Fort Worth. My wife's from Oklahoma. So we left church ministry, moved up to Oklahoma to be closer to her family as we started building our family, and started a roofing company. No clue what I was doing, right? Never been in sales. I guess I sold Jesus to teenagers, I guess, if you want to say that.
Right.
So maybe I was good at sales because that was quite the task. And through that, I met you, hundreds of realtors around the Oklahoma City area. Loved hanging out with you guys. And about 2 years into that, I just, I'm a large guy. Like I'm 6'3", 290 pounds, and I'm climbing on roofs for a living. And that just doesn't feel like I was designed for that. Right? God didn't make me nimble. And so I'd met some friends. Like we have a mutual friend, like Ryan Wells is a mutual friend of ours who owns a real estate photography business. And he and I and another guy, and a friend of ours, we got together and we were like, maybe we should start building websites for realtors. And so we jump in to building websites for real estate agents. And very quickly, I realized that I need some sort of value prop to get you guys to pay attention to me, to care about what I'm doing. And so, bro, this is just how simple-minded I am. I just literally prayed and was like, God, what do I excel in? What do realtors suck at?
Mhm.
And what's that answer? And what he gave me was, you're a great communicator. So start teaching social media classes to realtors because they're bad. At the time, it was really just Facebook. They're bad at Facebook.
Right.
So, bro, I think at the time, and the company you were at the time may have been one of the ones that I reached out to, but I just started reaching out to companies. It was like, hey, can I come teach a Facebook class?
Yeah.
And my first question that I got was, well, how much is it? I was like, it's free. And so I started peddling Facebook classes to get in front of people, to realtors specifically, to sell websites. And fast forward, I just got really good at what I would call organic social media. Right? Leveraging your sphere. So it's not about lead generating. That's a whole different aspect of social media. It was, we don't know how to just be present in front of our people. And dude, hundreds of free classes later, I left that company, started coaching and teaching full time.
Mhm.
And then now I've started several companies since then, travel the country, speaking and teaching about social media and leadership and marketing. And bro, here we are. It's been a wild journey that I can't take credit for.
It's crazy to think about, where we were then and sort of, and I love that we've continued to cross paths. We've continued to stay in each other's lives all that time. And I'm so grateful for your involvement with, helping our realtors and coaching our realtors and all that stuff. I'm so grateful for that and thankful that you do that for us. And so it's interesting though too, because there's a lot of confusion around social media for realtors. And I find that they don't know when to post, how to post, what to post, who should be seeing their message. Should I use advertising? There's just a lot of confusion in the world, in the real estate world, with how to do social media appropriately. And I think most people, when they're doing it, they're thinking, I need to go big. I need to go big with social media. And one of the things that I'm continually learning from you and passing that on to agents is think small first, right? And I think that's where we typically, go wrong. So, can you talk a little bit about your philosophy for social media?
Yeah, man. So what you just said is absolutely right. And I think the biggest mistake that realtors are making is while they're trying to figure it out, they do nothing.
Yeah.
Right. That's the worst, because they're doing nothing. And then they get the nerve to do their first video. And because they've been doing nothing, that video doesn't get 1 million views. It probably gets 7. And now, because ego is a big driver in all of this, which we can talk about in a little bit, now they feel like an idiot because they've got a video out there with 7 views, right? So their ego is saying, oh my gosh, what did I do? You look like such a moron, to all of social media, when the reality is 7 people saw it, right? So it's really not that big of a deal. But to me, it's all about like the way that I coach and navigate this for realtors is it's just about staying in motion, right? Like we can pivot so much faster while in motion than we can sitting on our hands trying to come up with the perfect plan. And so for me, it's just do something. Even if it's like post a picture of your family, post a picture of you meal prepping for the day ahead, right? Like just do something. Take a selfie with the bourbon that you're drinking.
Right.
And then ask the question like, hey, where are my bourbon fans at? What's your favorite bourbon?
Yeah, I agree. You just have to keep it moving. And there's a period in time, by the way. So if you're a real estate agent, you're just getting into this, it seems daunting. And Kyle's right. Just quit thinking about putting the perfect content. Quit thinking about creating the perfect message for whoever your audience is. My guess is you don't probably know exactly who your audience is yet, and you will cultivate that over time. But I find there is a period of time where you cross over. 99% of the feedback you're going to get is going to be positive. And then you're going to realize like, you know what? This doesn't matter as much as I thought it did. Right. You think like you're putting something out there for the whole world and the whole world's going to see it. Yes, there's anybody can kind of go look you up, but how many people are actually going to be doing that? And I just find that at some point you stop caring and you just start sharing your life and your experience and your real estate tips and all that stuff with other people out there. And, I just feel like that you're absolutely right. You just got to keep it moving.
Well, and I think, you said stop caring. I think it's not that we stop caring. It's that we shift what we care about.
Right.
Right. At first, we care about what drives ego. We care about selling things. And so that's what our prime like factor is. But when we shift that, so like for me, like I did a post the other day and before we left for Disney, I was taking our dog to the kennel. And it was like she knew that she was going to be there for a week. So she was super sad. Mm-hmm. And she was laying in the passenger seat next to me with her head leaned on the armrest. Like, so I took a picture. I was like, this is adorable. I'm going to put this on social. Tons of people are going to love it because it's a cute puppy dog, right? It got like 3 likes on Instagram. Right. And I have thousands of followers.
Yeah.
And so my first thought was, I am a freaking loser. I'm a freaking loser. No one cares about me. Right. But my second thought was, bro, who cares about all this in the moment part, right? We're setting the stage for who's coming next. And so when somebody's going to look me up to hire me to speak, to hire me to do their social media, no matter how many likes that post has, it's in my feed and it will evoke a certain emotion from dog loving people.
Right.
And so I don't delete it because I'm embarrassed. I'm reminding myself that I'm setting the stage for what's coming next. And that's where, like real estate, we get this thirst for success and we want it a millisecond after we do something. Mm-hmm. Right. And y'all know this, whether you're working for sub owners, you're door knocking, right? All the old school stuff that most realtors don't want to do anymore. They don't do it because there's not instant gratification from it.
Yeah.
Right. It's a grind. And man, that's the key with social is recognizing that So we don't get too high, we don't get too low. Because if we get too high or too low, the first thing that goes is our consistency.
Yeah, I feel like realtors do this in all aspects of their business, right? So they say, I don't know what to do with social media, so I don't post, I don't stay in motion, or I don't know how to work a for sale by owner because I don't know the script. So they perfect a script and then they never call it for sale by owner. It's really all aspects of real estate business that I feel like they fail to just get started, just get moving.
Right. And the other thing that they fail to realize is that, all of those people that they might look to that have large followings, they didn't do it overnight.
Yeah.
It took time. I mean, that's loads and loads of content and good content over time, an inch at a time, moving that forward. There may have been a couple of windfalls in that time period, but most likely it's just the amount of time staying in the game. Whether that's social media, whether that's real estate, it's enough time doing the right action, period.
That's marriage.
Yeah.
That's friendship, right? Like so many people, they're already throwing in the towel and they don't even have enough losses stacked up yet to know what success should be.
Man, can you say that again?
Yeah, that most people, we don't have enough losses stacked up to even know what success is supposed to look like.
That's absolutely right. That's the whole key, right? You have to be willing to lose.
I mean, dude, in Oklahoma, I was doing Facebook Lives from the rooftops of houses. Right. And like coming home to my wife going, how's your day? I'm like, well, I did a Facebook Live from a roof. And she's like, really? Why?
Yeah.
Did we get any business from that? How's that working? And I felt like such an idiot, but I was stacking up losses so that now 8 years later, I know what losing feels like.
Right.
And I know all the ways that it doesn't work, which have led me to the ways that it does.
Mm-hmm.
And the craziest part, guys, is I'm trying to do my best to keep people from going down my path, which was years of losing.
Right.
But their ego just keeps them sitting around developing the perfect strategy to which they'll never actually deploy on anything.
If you're listening to this podcast, like don't be that person that's trying to make everything perfect before you take action, because ultimately it's going to result in nothing getting accomplished. Your best, and we've talked about this before, your best path to success is through action, period. Yep. Even if it's wrong action, you're either learning what to do or you're learning what not to do.
Right.
As long as you can kind of stay in that mindset, you're going to be fine.
And we got to be creative, I think, a little bit. Like yesterday, like right now in the month of December, I'm in a 30-day video challenge just for myself to just stay fresh, to not take the month off and then come into January going, oh, I don't want to do video. I haven't done it in a month. And so, of course, the last 5 days was at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be doing freaking video. Like I'm exhausted. My feet hurt. My hips hurt. Like muscle groups that I didn't even know existed on my body are screaming at me. And so we were on this Dumbo ride, which just goes in a circle, right? Like there's nothing exhilarating about it, but the kids love it. And so I just recorded like 30 seconds of video of me and my daughter on this ride. The video itself was pointless, right? There was no message in it. I wasn't preaching or teaching or equipping, but then I used the actual post to talk about like the greatest power of leadership is consistency. And consistency is boring. And we go around and around and you start talking about routine. And you start talking to people that are skinny about the way they eat and people that have a six pack about the way they work out. And their story is so freaking boring.
Yeah.
But that's where success lies. And that I think is we understand that with working out. We understand that with eating healthy. But when it comes to social media, we keep looking for the knockout punches.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just not there. Right. That's just not typically how social media works. We're chasing these viral moments when the right real estate content, in my opinion, isn't ever going to go viral.
Right. Well, I think a lot of it is our culture. We sort of like worship the celebrity entrepreneur, and they always have this sort of, oh, they achieved this level of success in such a short amount of time, or they retired at 35 years old or 40 years old or whatever. And basically it's like, look, it's like asking kids about playing in the NBA. It's like the reality of it is there's like 400 players in the NBA. Like if you're playing basketball, like, and I'm not trying to crush anybody's dreams here, right? But if you're playing basketball in high school, and even if you're on the A team, right? Even if you're a starter, the chances that you're going to make it to the NBA are pretty much zero. So that sort of level or that sort of worship of the celebrity entrepreneur, or fame or riches or whatever, is not really reality. And you can be immensely successful. You can absolutely become a millionaire. You can absolutely create loads and loads of income for yourself, but it's not going to happen overnight. And what you don't see with any of that stuff, any of that success in the business world, is the long, windy road with plenty of obstacles in the way.
They see the moment the business blew up, not the 10 years of doing Facebook Lives on rooftops.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, and so listening to y'all talk, I don't know if I've ever even talked about this out loud. And so maybe this is a breakthrough moment for my coaching and for everybody listening. We can tell stories of like guys like Michael Jordan, right? That got cut from their freshman basketball team, go work their butts off, become the greatest basketball player ever. All of his hard work and failure got to be done in private.
Yeah.
Right. You look at anybody that invented something amazing, and there are hundreds, if not thousands of attempts to get it right. All of that was done in private. The biggest difference that I'm now just recognizing with social media is I'm asking you to go fail publicly long enough for that failure to not hurt as bad, and then for that failure to turn into success.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge difference, right? Like I'm trying to lose weight. I don't have to do my workouts on Facebook Live every day. I don't have to, go live while I'm choosing what to eat that day. Everything I'm doing is in private. Social media is not. And I think that's probably the biggest hang up for people is they don't have enough self-confidence and honestly self-worth to go make failing in public worth it.
But like you said, even the quote unquote failures, I mean, 7 people saw your video. So what did you really lose? I mean, you're not like thousands of people saw this video that they thought was terrible. 7 people saw it. So,
but it requires for you to even be able to say that, right? You have developed a mindset that allows you to see the positive. And most of our world doesn't have that.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Most of our world is designed to be negative. We're selfish. And so the moment it doesn't go well for us, we're ready to throw in the towel. We're ready to go, well, that's not fair. They have that and I'm better than they are. Right. And so to be able to go, dude, with 7 people, what are you getting your panties in a wad for? Like,
right.
Like it's such a mind hack for you to even say that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like that's where we really got to start with people, is helping them to like develop their worth so that they can begin to shift their perspective.
So let me ask you that. How do we get them to do that? How do we get them to develop or see their worth? Because that's one of the, as a coach, you're a coach, we're all sort of coaches in a way and have done coaching at high levels. Yeah. One of the most, or one of the hardest things as a coach is I'm looking across the table, right? Talking to a person, and I see what they're capable of and getting them to see it. And or the frustration of them not taking action on the immense amount of potential that they have. So how do we get that? How do we get people to see that?
Well, I'll do the short answer first. I don't think we can, right? Like you look at like Tony Robbins and the hundreds, if not millions of people now that have been through his events. Yeah. And then the percentage of the people that actually walked away and took action from those events and didn't just tell stories about the event.
Right.
Right. So at the highest level, at the end of the day, like people have to want this for themselves. Mm-hmm. I know for me, right, I can tell you my journey is I had to come to a place where I really decided that I care more about helping others than I care about looking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think so many realtors, and y'all have heard this for a long time, right? Like, man, I got into real estate because I love people. I love helping people. It's like bull freaking crap.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you do is for anyone else other than yourself. We use that to feel good about ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we're not being uncomfortable, if you don't love serving people enough to go door knock on a hot summer morning, right? Like, it's just lip service. And so to some degree, we've got to look in the mirror and go, am I really about what I'm telling people I'm about? Because that's it for me. Last week in Disney, on the mornings that I didn't want to do a video, my first thought had to be, but there are people out there that need to be encouraged today.
Right.
So I'm going to sit here in my comfort and leave them unencouraged.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big piece of it for me.
Yeah,
y'all may have a different answer.
I think for me, the progression was, initially it was, I need to not feel this pain. Right. So there was the hunger of income, feeding family, all of that stuff that sort of got me initially out of my comfort zone, because it was sort of a sink or swim moment going into real estate full time or being a salesperson or whatever that is. Like, I think we all have or most of us have jobs, and then we're doing these jobs. Right. And so there's that initial, like, get out of pain. But there does have to be, I think, a switch that's flipped where you go, okay, there has to be a deeper purpose for me to continue on this journey. And making that transition is really, really difficult, because you got to dig deep. You got to get a shovel, and it's going to get dirty, right? To really find that, to get out of, because I really don't think you're going to find true fulfillment as an individual until you find that deeper purpose of your life. And usually it's about other people.
Right. And I love the analogy you used with digging deep with the shovel, right? Yeah. Think about, like, what would we choose if we were looking for gold? And so we have the shovel, we can go dig anywhere, but our options are, you can go dig by yourself, or there's this guy in town, he found $1 million worth of gold 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best at knowing where to look for gold. The digging's going to be the same. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to get dirt on your face. You're going to get dirt on your fingernails. Like, you've got to put in the work. Would you or would you not like the guide?
Right.
And
yeah,
I think that's
the guide. Yeah.
I think that's where most of us fail. Right. Again, ego says, I don't need a coach. What can that guy or what can that girl really teach me that I don't already know? And so ego keeps us from doing it. But I think that's the key. My greatest students for social media have been the ones that have stayed alongside me the longest. Mm-hmm. That text me on the mornings they don't want to do video, and we have that conversation instead of going, I'm just going to quit coaching, and then they don't do video for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? It's what you guys do so well at Ten Oaks is coming alongside agents and really holding their hand whether they want it held or not. Mm-hmm. I think that's the key to all of this, is getting in proximity to the people doing it at a higher level than you, knowing that over time that proximity will turn into you doing the same thing.
Yeah, and you have to battle through the idea that I think with a coach is like, well, they've already given me all they can give me. There's nothing else that I can learn from this person. And the reality of it is, I think as the individual, you have not progressed enough for them to teach you anything new because you're still stuck.
100%. So good.
Okay, so let's, the intention of this wasn't to be a whole mindset thing, but it's kind of turned into that. But let's kind of get into the, social media sort of philosophy in terms of so there's the action part of it, which I think we've covered in depth, right? But there's also the mindset of when I'm sharing the information that's out there, right? Yes, we need to get, like you said, we need to take action, just get in the habit of it. But as that progresses, as a real estate agent, because I see a lot of real estate agents do a lot of look at me, look at the house I just listed, look at the house that I just sold, look at how successful I am, which I don't think is very effective in terms of creating people following you or seeing what you're doing. I think people just scroll right past it, and there's Brandon bragging about the house that he just sold. Who cares, right? Like I'm not really interested in your success, frankly. Like what I'm interested in is like, what's in it for me, right? As the consumer, what's in it for me as an individual or as somebody who has a relationship, and it's not going to be you bragging. So I think as real estate professionals, we have to get out of the humble brag. And I'm not saying don't share your new listing. And I'm not saying don't share a photo, but there's a key philosophy that you share. If you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, I don't really think there's anything like there's no such thing as a bad post.
Sure.
There's just poorly told stories. And I think that is the biggest thing. Like last week, right? I'd already decided I wanted to be present with my family. I wasn't going to blow social media up while we're at Disney. How many people on my social media are struggling right now? And like, is my posting about Disney going to hurt more people than it would help?
Mm-hmm.
And so the only posts that I posted in the last week, other than my videos, were I post a picture of my wife and 2 kids sitting at the airport with an airplane behind them. And I told the story very quickly of a week in the most magical place on earth was great, but man, there's just no place like home.
Yeah.
And we're so ready to be back.
Right.
Right. That's storytelling. That's not shoving Disney down people's throats. That's telling the story. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think we can take all of our closing photos. We can take all of our new listings. Now let's get rid of pending. Maybe the only bad posts are like, guys, like when realtors are like, this listing went pending, this listing's under contract. Nobody knows what any of those things mean. So maybe those are the only things that we say, let's wipe the face of the earth with those posts. Because we could take a new listing and we could tell a beautiful story about a new listing. Right. And let's leave out, hey, if you want to go see it, let me know. Like, let's leave the hook out. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's the other bad part is all these social media experts have taught us all these hooks, but those are designed to be seen by strangers. Yeah. So we're taking all these strategies designed for strangers and applying them to our friends. And they're like, holy crap, bro, we were just at breakfast yesterday. Why are you freaking hooking me on Facebook right now?
That was sort of that key principle we talked about thinking small versus thinking large. I think you have to be personal, right? Especially it's like, okay, later on when you're a nationally recognized real estate guru, great. You can create posts for strangers. But for right now, the people who are going to be seeing your stuff are people who you have a relationship with right now, right? It's your friends. It's your family. It's the people you go to church with, et cetera, et cetera.
And so here's what I would be doing right now if I was a realtor. I would be messaging all of my friends on social media that are my legit friends that like know me, right? We've done life together for some amount of time. And I would literally message them and say, hey, RL, hey, I'm working on some video content for next year. What's a question that you might have about real estate? That's it.
Yep.
Very simple, right? And then you're going to message me back and I'm not going to try to like sneak my way in. Hey, bro, thanks for that answer, man. If you need any help with real estate, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm going to go, dude, that's a great question. I hadn't even thought about that question. You are incredible. Merry Christmas. And I'm just sprinkling these little bitty seeds, right, into all my friends' hearts.
Yeah.
And they're going to grow. And then guess what? In a couple months, RL's going to see that video and be like, that was my question. Yeah. I gave him that. And now you feel bought into my real estate business. To me, it's that simple to begin to create conversation. But it's a slow, right? It's a slow build. And most realtors don't have the patience for it.
Well, I want to zero in on a principle there because this is something that I've been, what you said is something that I've not only heard from you, but from other authors and podcast creators and people who are doing this at the highest level and creating New York Times best-selling books. And one of their key principles is that book was written to one person. And often they start it with, Dear Kyle, right? Each chapter starts with, Dear Kyle. Right, to get them in the right mindset, and then they write it to that person. So good. And so I think a lot of times when we're trying to create content, it's like, what's going to attract the largest amount of people? What can I do? What kind of message can I send that's generalized / interesting? And I would say, stop doing that. Just write that to one person. Like, I find that the highest, your highest level of humanity is in serving someone else. Yes. Okay, so once you cross over to doing that in social media, right, where you're going, let me serve someone here, and let me serve that one person, and I'm just going to give everybody a peek into that conversation. Yeah. Right? I'm going to leave out the dear Kyle, but I'm going to talk to Kyle. And I find that in those posts, I get, there are so many times where I go, this was so specific, no one's going to get it, and this is going to be the worst performing post of all time. And I have that moment where I go, I'm not going to do this. And I go, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. Just whatever happens, happens. And the sort of thing that I have in my head is like, in 24 hours, it's gone anyway. Like, social media is a river, right? It's whatever that rock or that log that you throw in is gone, right? Almost pretty quick. Exactly. And so, but when I post those things that are like very specific, I find that I get the most engagement.
Yeah. Dude, I needed to hear that advice today, because I can get so broad. I mean, we're all guilty of this.
Yeah.
And what I think of hearing you talk about that, Brandon, is like, look at the most downloaded podcast on the planet, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
Joe freaking stares darts into whoever his guest is. And that's all that matters for 4 hours.
Right.
Right. That's all that matters. Like, I don't see him going, well, I need to steer the conversation so we can get a little bit more broad, so we can capture a bigger audience. He will go as absolute deep as he can on one particular thing because of who his guest is. And hundred of millions of downloads later,
yeah,
we all like to just peek over the fence and just get a little bit of somebody else's conversation.
By the way, did you know he's the #1 interviewer of all time, like times 10? Like the Tom Brokaws and the Walter Cronkites and the Dan Rathers of the world don't even hold a candle to him. And it's just basically, it's that intense conversation and gives them enough time to explain their position.
And this is why when people are like, bro, I just love how passionate you get about social media. This is why I'm so passionate about it, because Joe Rogan didn't set out to become that.
No.
Right? He didn't look at Larry King and be like, Larry King, I can be better than Larry King. Watch this, world.
Right.
He just started bringing people on video, and they started talking about it. And so why I love this so much is you can strike out a dozen times in a row and boom, you strike gold with something and you get 10 listings showing up.
Yeah.
Right. You get connected to a builder that wants you to list all their new construction. And so this, like, I know this is crazy to think like this, but I truly think I'm a video away from Oprah finding it, from Ellen finding it, from Kelly Clarkson, like one of these daytime talk show people. I'm one video away from one of them coming across it and going, this dude's incredible. We need to bring him on the show.
That's another thing that I hear a lot from people who are consistent content providers is they say, the ones that I thought were going to hit, don't. The ones that I think weren't going to hit, do. And they said, they can never figure out what the formula is, but they say the only thing that I can do is be consistent.
That's it. Now there are people out there that'll say that, their program will coach you on how to go viral and all that crap. I think it's all a hoax.
I agree.
But that, it's unbelievable, man. Like, every day is a fresh opportunity for my next break.
Right.
Every day.
Absolutely.
And I like those odds over me sitting on my hands going, what's the perfect video that I could do today? Whoop, don't have one. Try again tomorrow.
Let me position this just right. Where are we going to do it? What's the background? What's the lighting? Make sure I've got my ring light on, all of that stuff. And it's like, man, just be consistent. Talk to one person, tell stories. I mean, all the things that we've talked about up until this point. It's just, we're trying to be too perfect. Yes. And we're trying to present this image. And what people want, I find, is transparency. They want to know who you really are. That's, by the way, that's one of the things that's sort of changed recently in the world, is people don't, or specifically to social media, they find that the stuff that's like high production is not as interesting as the stuff that's kind of grainy and or real and or people don't want high production. They want to know what people's real lives are.
100%. And so many people are watching video like on the go, right? Yeah. Like there's times like I'll have video going in my car. So I'm treating it more like a podcast than I am watching the video. And so it's so much more about the actual content of what's in there than it is about, do we have all of our, do I have all my cubbies looking the right way behind me as I'm about to do this video? Like, right. What color do I need to pick to be behind it? What bourbons are we going to put back there to connect to people? And then we overthink like, oh, wait, what am I going to actually say?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the most important piece is that no matter what, we're only saying things that we truly are bought into.
Yeah.
We let mistakes be in there because that's real life. That's relatable. I'm way more likely to work with RL because we both have hats on right now. Right? You show up to a listing presentation, like you show up to list my house in a 3-piece suit, you are not my realtor. I don't care if you've sold 1,000 houses.
Right.
I'm not picking you because you make me feel bad every time I see you. You show up with a ball cap on and we share stories and similarities. You're my guy.
Yeah.
And I think we've been taught poorly, right? That like we've always got to put our best foot forward. And that just in 2023, where we'll be in 11 days. That's just not how we win anymore.
Mm. Do you attribute anything to that shift? What is that shift, by the way? In terms of people like that world that sort of was high production, we only saw sort of the highlights, but as time has gone on, people want to see the lowlights. They want to see reality. They want to see authenticity. That's a very real and present cultural shift. Do you have anything that you attribute that to?
I would say two things. I think one, just the reality TV, like as the 90s happened, and we got our first taste of like Real World, Road Rules, like MTV was kind of the pioneer with a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, you get all the other things that have come with it since. I think that was the start of like being able to like watch the Kardashians.
Right.
And in one tiny glimpse, be able to go, what? I drink that water.
Yeah.
What? We have those place settings. So I think that is kind of the first part of it. And then I think the second part is as social media has become more accessible, back in the day, I could show up twice a week with a suit on, and people are like, dude, Kyle's always got a suit on. I'm like, well, no, I just wear them on the days that I have to see people.
Right.
Now, because of just how easy social media is to be around, you just can't fake that anymore.
Right.
So now there's still people trying, and they're all the ones that are sucking on social media. Right? Like they're horrible at social media.
Yeah.
And so they're still putting on that imposter syndrome. But for the rest of us, we're like, screw it. Like, I wanted to do my hair today. This is the first of 4 podcasts I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want my hair to look good today. And then it was like 9:27. And I was like, oh crap. I don't have time. Whoop hat. So we've got to be more willing to just put ourselves out there. And I think that's the reason why we've kind of seen that narrative change.
Yeah, it's just super interesting. Man, Kyle, I think we're going to have to do this again. This was such a great conversation, great dialogue. Man, you always bring the heat. I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate your heart and your passion behind what you're doing. It makes all the difference. And I can't tell you how grateful. You have any sort of parting thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. We got to do it again. I mean, I wanted to talk about advertising a lot because, realtors always want to jump straight to advertising.
Yeah.
And marketing is your messaging, advertising, is putting it out for the world. And they always want to jump straight out to just amplifying the message instead of just getting the messaging right. So we didn't even get to that. So we save that for another one, but I appreciate the time you spent with us today, and we'll definitely do it again.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. Okay. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.